All right, well, good morning. That's weird. We have a little echo. I'll get that fixed. It wouldn't be a day without a problem on the show. It's ridiculous. Stand by, everybody. Let's try that. Did that fix it? It did. Now it's not. It's on this side now. When do I need? I need an engineer here. Get him here. Bring that guy back over here. Let's try it again. There we go. Does that fix it? Nope. Stop it. Echo. Stand by, everybody. Try this one. And I think that did it. Okay. All right, everybody. Thank you for joining us here on a Friday. We made it through the week. I've got a full house here. We've got people looking at us like we're crazy. I think there's a constable in here. Is that right? Yes. So Paul Gonzalez, I think he was Precinct 3 constable. Is that what he is? Precinct 4? Precinct 1, Precinct 2. He replaced Wilkie, right? That's who he replaced. Allison Boucher is here. She didn't bring the dog. We'll talk to her in a second here. Hopefully we can get some things going here correctly. It's never easy to start the show off because we always have some kind of technical glitch. It just never ends. But I want to talk about a couple things that we've got going on here. Yesterday was really interesting. We had the Planning and Zoning Commission meeting, and I have to say this, that they were faced with a difficult situation yesterday with a planning and zoning issue about annexation and land use. And they essentially said to the city council, we're not going to handle that. We're going to give it to you to deal with. And what it was there's a development called the Heights, very very erudite sounding. The Heights wants to build about 43 to 44 homes off of Coronado Drive here in Kerrville. They presented the plans to it. They actually went above and beyond what normally would be as far as the platting goes. The issue was annexation though, and they wanted to be annexed into the city for several reasons. One, it afforded them the opportunity to kind of do sewer and some other things as well, and some other city services. So they presented a plan. Now the problem is that this development previously on Mountain Laurel View was never really thought out very well, which shockingly, that's something that happens, and it floods pretty extensively. And the homeowners in that neighborhood put together a pretty impressive presentation about the flooding issues in that area of Kerrville and how that property produces way more water than what the city understands or anyone else understands. And so Mike Sigerman said basically, look, I don't feel comfortable with this because these people live currently in the city of Kerrville. We're trying to annex something in that's going to impact their quality of life. And so the P&Z yesterday voted to punt it basically over to the city council to make the decision on the annexation, which ultimately is the city council's decision anyway. But it was interesting, and it showed to me further evidence of the growing pains that we're going to suffer here, in Kerrville as we try to grow. Because, you know what? There was a lot of wonky conversations about hydrology yesterday that I didn't really understand. If you're like an engineer and you study fluid hydrodynamics, that was the thing that you needed to do. And by the way, I didn't know that. I had to look that up last night because I don't know what I was writing about because it was so wonky. And in fact, at one point, the city engineer got up and he's like, whoa, wait a minute here, stop. Let's not talk about this right now. This is going to take hours to go through, and it did. It took a long time. The city also ran into an issue yesterday that was interesting. If you've noticed, there's going to be a Qdoba on next to the Hobby Lobby, which I don't shop at. I don't like going to the Hobby Lobby because they loot things from ancient Sumeria. That's another story altogether. But anyway, a land deal went down where Hobby Lobby owns its own land, and Starbucks and the new Qdoba, which is going to be owned by Melissa Southern and her husband, who own Rails. And that was news to me. They don't have the ability to have a sign on their property because of the sign ordinance. So they have to get an exemption to the sign ordinance, and no one thought about this plan. So you can't have two signs on a property or monument signs on a piece of property. And this is like kind of like, I hate to say the cliche of this. It's the perfect storm because it involves a land deal. It involves, new stuff coming in, and then it also involves TxDOT. So that's a perfect storm. And TxDOT said that when they put in that you couldn't turn left into the Starbucks, which Allison Boucher knows how to get around. You don't go to that one, do you? Though you're loyal to. You're what? Hold on, let me turn your microphone on. What? You're loyal to that one?
I frequent that one too.
Did you get a latte, by the way?
No, not yet.
Oh, let me. I'll get one for you here in a second. Did you want a pumpkin spice latte, by the way? We have those here now.
Sure.
Okay. My daughter makes them special.
Then yes, absolutely.
Okay. All right. We'll talk to Allison here about the dogs and everything like that. I was thinking that Allison might be mad at me because I haven't talked about the chupacabra for quite a while, but that's where we're at. Anyway, the sign ordinance is interesting. So it's a perfect storm of things, and so they're trying to figure out if they can allow 2 signs to go on this piece of property. So right now it's Hobby Lobby and Starbucks on kind of that south side of the piece of property, which, by the way, that sign actually has been wrecked by the crappy drivers in this town. So I've never been in a place where more signs have been knocked over in the state of Texas. Like, do they aim for them? They don't even shoot them; they just run them over. It's crazy. So there's that. We have football tonight. Ingram is playing at home against Sonora. Tyvee will try to get back on the winning side of things. They're 0-5. They're playing Lockhart tonight at Lockhart. Lockhart, I think, is 2-3. I don't know, man. I'm not hopeful. There's a scenario in there that they can do it, but I watched 2 of their games. The last game I watched was possibly the worst high school football game I've ever seen in my life. So I have not seen a good high school football game in Texas yet. I've had great barbecue. I've seen great volleyball. I've had some really good chili. But the other thing, the Texas high school football, I don't see it. yet. I haven't seen it yet, but we'll see. And then a couple other quick things. Yesterday, Ken Paxton, the Attorney General of the state of Texas, he was going crazy. He was suing the federal government. He was telling Merrick Garland to pound sand on this idea that school boards are under threat. And Ken Paxton, of course, said the only thing that's threatening school boards is Joe Biden and his critical race theory nonsense. The vitriol of our political discourse right now is so out of control. I don't even know what to make of it. And yesterday, I put it in the thing today, at the very bottom of it. But I was driving back from KPUB after I raided their meat plate they had, and there was a person who was. I haven't seen anything like this since I lived in Southern California, which is riddled with Raider fans. And Raider fans are very coarse people for the most part. And this person had on the back of their car seats in the car. They had children on board type things, but it had a big sign that said F Joe Biden. And I thought to myself, you know what? Why would you put that on your car? I mean, I guess that's just, I mean, maybe you could just say, I didn't vote for that guy. I voted for Trump. That's fine. But to F him, last time I saw that with the Raider fan who had a big thing on the back of their truck that said, Raider Nation, F the rest, and like that was what it was like. That's how coarse our conversation has gotten here. And it's unfortunate. So, but we're going to be centered here by the good people from KPUB because this week it's Public Power Week. And I'm telling you right now, if you don't care about things. Oh, and speaking of public power, by the way, one little addition to this. This is interesting. Ironic and sort of humorous at the same time. Elon Musk is moving his headquarters to Texas, okay? And which is kind of ironic if you think about it, because Elon Musk is famous for making the Tesla car, which Jeremy Walter, by the way, has driven, and he said it's a marvelous vehicle. I've only driven the Mach-E, from the Mustang version of the electric car, which is also marvelous to drive, fun to drive. But what they were saying was that, guess what Tesla gets? They get lots of government subsidies. Basically, the purchasers get those subsidies to fund those cars. And they're coming to Texas, where the governor of Texas slammed renewable energy for their subsidies and for their federal tax breaks for being a failure on that. which is interesting in and of itself. And I'm not going to ask Mike to, get away on the politics of it, but I find the irony of it is just kind of funny as well. But the truth of the matter is that Musk said that, look, we cannot grow the way we want to grow in California. And if you think about it from his perspective, his businesses are here. I mean, honestly, he's got a major SpaceX facility in Waco. He's got a major SpaceX facility down on the Gulf Coast. He's got Tesla coming here. They're also going to build batteries probably somewhere at some point in Texas. But he's like, we're not leaving California, And you know why they're not leaving California? And this is interesting. I read this the other day too. They're not leaving California because, one, that's where all the innovation is going to happen on the engineering side. But two, in the United States, there's only 2 places in the country that have massive reserves of lithium. One in California and one in Nevada. So the battery future is in lithium most likely, or molten salt or something like that. So we'll figure that out. Mike will solve all the problems for here, and Allison will do it as well. But most importantly, it's Public Power Week. And again, if you don't remember how horrible the winter storm was, right? It is like I've told people before. I lived through 2 blizzards in Colorado. Yeah, that was nothing. Winter storm, Mike Wittler, was what? What was it?
Absolutely no fun.
It was no fun. Allison Boucher was on the customer service side of things during that time too. And I mean, what were people saying to you? Were they screaming at you, or were they? I mean, I was fortunate. I live, I guess, in the same area where the hospital was on, so I was okay. I didn't have water for 7 days, but I had power, and I don't know which one. I'm trying to. I can't say which one was worse, But I mean, but what were people saying to you guys?
The first few days, I feel like they were probably a little more on the angry side, just because they really didn't understand the situation.
They didn't understand the scale.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And Mike, we talked about this a little bit. I'm really want your insight into this too, because I find it to be a fascinating story of how agencies respond. And here you are. You and we need to precede that by the fact that in May of 2020 we had a significant weather event that did plenty of damage here, and you had to call in mutual aid for the first time. And then we fast forward to February. What was that like for you, being the CEO of that of this power utility?
I guess every event is different. In February, it was just one curveball after another, and I'd say in that week, as far as operational problems go, we had more operation issues than we would normally have in a whole year.
Right.
We lost communication to substations, lost control. We had breakers malfunction. We had transmission lines, LCRA transmission lines in the western area out of service, and with just one thing after another.
Mm-hmm.
So that was the big thing there. Operationally, and as far as keeping the lights on locally, we actually, other than the few isolated pockets, we actually did pretty good, and we were able, early in the storm, and then, early in the storm, like Friday, Saturday, before things got really bad, we were actually out helping CTEC with outages.
Right.
And then about Thursday, towards the end of the week, we were ready to start helping them again. There was just a ton of stuff going on. It was one thing after another.
You made, I think, and I've shared this story with people before, because people don't realize. The scale of this thing was the entire state essentially. And when I was working up in Greenville, they were going through similar issues because they have a gas power plant and they couldn't operate it, because the Texas Railroad Commission had basically shut down gas transmission to the big providers, and with the emphasis going to the homeowners who couldn't do anything anyway because they couldn't have any electricity to start their pilot lights, things like that. But I think what you made some points that I thought were fascinating too about the ice loads, and I was wondering if you could reshare some of that a little bit with me too. That what was that? What were you guys seeing in parts of West Kerr County with ice? And that's the thing that really I think set this storm apart was that initial ice load was just so significant.
Yeah, that was really CTEC's problem,
Yeah.
and we didn't get a lot of the ice loading that they saw. But when we were out there helping them, out in the Divide, Mountain Home, and then north of Fredericksburg, we were mostly in western Kerr County. You had about an inch of ice. You had tree limbs down everywhere, everywhere, and that. Where we are, the design standard or the minimum design standard, I guess, is designing to a quarter to a half inch of ice. And when you look at where the standard is designing for 1 inch, that's up in the northern, in the northern states in the U.S. and in Maine and, up in the Dakotas and areas like that.
I mean, I looked it up, actually, and I'll tell you this. I think in Canada, we talked about this before. I looked it up, though. Canada is rated for 1.5 inches,
Okay.
And so you were definitely like, it was almost Alberta-like conditions here. Not quite. I mean, we weren't sub for a long period, but it just was sustained. And the thing I think is interesting too that people don't realize was that the city of Kerrville and their wastewater was, I mean, they were moments away from failing completely. I mean, that would have been a catastrophic, loss. And so. Are we still? We're not done with this conversation, are we? There's still litigation. There's still things you can't talk about, right?
Yeah, there's still a lot going on. There's a lot of these issues are state planning issues. So on the electric side, ERCOT and the PUC are doing a lot of rulemaking now, and we're following all of that very closely. On the natural gas side, the Railroad Commission oversees that, and recently the state legislators have been pretty critical of activities there.
Because
honestly, it's going to take years to address all the problems that we've had.
Right. People don't realize too. I said it before. It's like, look, ERCOT got the share of the blame, but honestly, if you really look at it, it was the Texas Railroad Commission that caused the biggest problems because of the way their rulemaking happened around natural gas, and natural gas was the big failure there. And people don't realize here either, too, that, well, I mean, maybe they do, because Allison does a good job of communicating these things. I'm just assuming they don't always think about them. But you guys are diversified. You buy power from various sources. You have an investment in a solar facility. Do you have wind in the portfolio as well? Or yeah, do you? Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Here's the big question for you, Mike. So will you buy? Now, you have a big truck already. Is it time to get the all-electric truck, the Ford F-150 electric truck? Isn't it time for you to get that? Shouldn't you be driving an electric vehicle as your primary work truck?
I think that depends on how much you drive every day and what you're doing. So I normally don't drive a lot, but then occasionally I drive hundreds of miles, and that could be problematic.
Right.
And then I also pull large trailers occasionally, which would also
be problematic.
Yeah,
but you don't drive. So, and the thing I think would be cool though is that you don't drive one with the bucket truck. You don't have the bucket truck on the back. You don't. You can't go out and service something yourself, right? That's not your operation. Your journey through this career is on the business side, not on the line side. Right?
On the engineering side,
right.
and then with construction as well during parts of my career.
Right. Okay.
So, but never. I don't have the hands-on experience and those qualifications.
Right. Okay.
The linemen do.
This is cool though, because this week is Public Power Week. Yesterday you had a big open house, and Allison's kind of been running this. And Allison, do public power workers get enough love in this world? I mean, if you think about it, you guys play a critically important role to our everyday lives, and we forget about that sometimes too, right?
Yeah, but I would say that we've had really great community support this past year between all the different storm events, and our linemen have actually, I think they felt really appreciated during everything.
Right. Do they?
But no, they're the unsung heroes. They're amazing.
I mean, yeah. I mean, it's like they are asked to go out and do stuff for hours on end, which is highly technical, highly dangerous work, and usually in unsettling and uncomfortable, situations too.
Oh, yeah. I mean, during the winter storm events, they were leaving their homes, and their houses didn't have power either. I mean, that's what most of our employees... I didn't have water or power at my house most of the week.
Right.
And the linemen were doing the same thing and leaving their own houses and doing that in the middle of...
It doesn't matter, though, because your husband is he'll knock down a tree and barbecue with it, right? I mean, that's what he's going to do. So, I mean...
He was holding the fort down.
Yeah, he was holding the fort down. But, I mean, this is kind of where we're at, though, is that, I mean, Mike, going back to you, though, I mean, public power, it's such an important, piece to recognize for folks. I mean, and... what do you when you look at the job that you do and the work that you do, is there things that amaze you about some of the things you guys perform on a regular basis?
I don't know about amaze. It's I've been working in this industry for years, but the difference I think that we provide is the local control and the sensitivity to local issues, responsiveness. You mentioned the linemen. All our employees live and work here, and so they're part of the community. They're dedicated to the community, and I think that's the real magic that we have at KPUB. The workforce here is absolutely fantastic. Right. I mean, just across the board, they do an amazing job.
Because there were times during the May storm where you were asking these guys, there was trees down and there was lines down. In places that weren't necessarily easy to get to either. I mean, usually you have easements, but there were some situations where it was really challenging to get through, and yet they somehow figured out a way to get it done. It's kind of an interesting story. What led you to a career in power?
So I went to school for electrical engineering, and I did a little intern work for a semiconductor manufacturer and sat behind a desk all the time. And I wanted to work in a field where I got to get outside and, work, at least closer to more hands-on work.
Now, listen, here's the deal, though, right? You know this, too, that the semiconductor world is probably a little bit more lucrative. But you chose you wanted to be outside, though. So that was the drawdown, I guess, for a second here. Semiconductors, by the way, that is a top story in this country right now because of the fact that that's why you have no cars on car lots, by the way. There's not enough semiconductors out there, and so that's a huge one. So, Mike, you missed the boat. That's okay. Well, we won't hold against you. We're glad that you're here. I want to just pivot for a second. We're talking about KPUB, talking Public Power Week. Tomorrow at 10 a.m. at Louise Hayes Park. It's going to be an event you're going to bring your kids to. I wish my grandsons were still here because if they I can tell you right now, my youngest one would love the opportunity to go up into the bucket truck. And we're going to send them, 50, 60, 75 feet, 80 feet in the air. We're going to put them over the river and dip them into the water. How are we going to do? What's going to happen? I want to know.
They're going to go up, maybe not quite that high.
I know. You already told me that already. You already ruined it. I wanted to see if I could catch you on that one. But you did, so there you go.
But they'll be in safety harnesses, and our linemen will take them up as well.
I need to turn the camera on. Do you see what's happening here?
What's happening?
The constable is he's running back and forth, like delivering coffee to people. It's really quite amazing. Look at him. He's got a napkin.
Send him this way.
Hey, put a lid on that, huh? Come on now. All right. So tomorrow, though, it's the big event, and it's going to happen. What can we expect tomorrow?
The bucket truck rides, of course. Our linemen will be there. We'll have face painters out at the event, too. They'll be doing utility-themed face painting for free.
Right.
We'll have free hot dogs. My husband will be grilling.
Okay. Is he still on the Shriner barbecue team?
No, not this year.
Okay, not this year. Okay,
yes.
All right. I bet the Shriner barbecue team.
Did you?
They referenced him briefly. So, so he'll be barbecuing, and then the bucket truck, though, man, there's going to be a long line. Are you going to charge admission for this, or is it going to be free?
It's totally free.
What a waste of taxpayer. No, just kidding. You should recoup some costs there. We're going to fund Mike's new truck. So.
We'll also have some pretty cool free T-shirts, too, for the first 100 people.
Okay. And then you're going to play with electricity.
Yes. We'll be doing an Arc and Spark demo.
All right.
We'll have tables with just samples of all of our lineman tools, too.
Right. Yesterday I got a chance to visit with your engineer. What was his name again? Tell me again.
Paul.
What's his last name?
Martinez.
This is the coolest guy probably in Kerrville.
He is. He's pretty cool.
And yet, here's what I think you should do. You should bring him down and have his screen that he had in his office and just play video games on it. That's the perfect video game screen. I don't even play video games anymore, but I saw that screen. I'm like, I'll play video games with that guy. That's like this perfectly curved and everything. So
Both your nerd flags can fly.
oh my gosh, yeah, we were totally nerdy with this as well. The celebration of public power, though, what is the message you're trying to convey to people, about this week and the role that KPUB plays in people's lives?
So this is something in our industry that public power utilities are actually doing this across the nation. It's just a way for us to engage with our community and just talk about the benefits of us being a public power utility. Mm-hmm. We're not for profit. We have local control, reliable service, and competitive low rates.
Right. And those are all key things to, my electric bill, I ran the air conditioner, since I've been home, not working in an office, I run my air conditioner, I'm like, all day long, and my bills, I think the most it's been is $115. So I've really been spoiled by KPUB's services. When you look at what we were talking about being amazed, and I'll tell you, when you can go into a workplace and you be amazed by certain things, or just be in awe of people. Like, I'm always in awe of engineers, people who figure things out. Like, how do you figure that out? But what gives you satisfaction in your job?
That's taking care of the customers, really,
yeah.
and doing a better job than many utilities do. We had a customer stop by yesterday and just went on and on about how quickly we provided service for him, and talked about another place where he had been and how long it took there.
Right.
So those stories are, that's really makes you feel good about what you're doing. What
do you think? We talked about Elon Musk and Tesla and all of the things that Tesla's working on. They're working on, and they have them already in the marketplace now. Whole house batteries. There's a big conversation, at least in the California side of battery storage. Where do you see the future of electrical power going at this point? There's a loaded question for you.
Yeah.
I was waiting for you. I was waiting for it. But there's so much out there, and then you have a state like Texas, which is heavy, the biggest natural gas producer in the country, but also 18 or 20% of the stock of electrical power is coming from renewables too, and you see that in West Texas.
Right.
You can't escape the windmills or the turbines.
So storage is huge, and that, to help integrate the renewables into our mix, we need lower cost storage and better storage, and I really see that happening first at the utility scale with big systems installed next to the solar farms and the wind farms. The other thing that I think is important is pursuing diverse portfolios, and so we've incentivize the wind and solar, and we need to continue looking towards new innovations, with storage probably being the next one, and then another one that we really ought to think about are the small modular nuclear reactors.
Right. Yeah, because a lot of people are saying now too that look, if you really and don't watch HBO's Chernobyl, by the way, it'll scare the hell out of you forever about nuclear power. But the reality of it is that there's innovations in nuclear power now that are here. It is reliable. It can be safe. It's not like it was in the 70s where you had to build these magnificent domes and stuff like that. But the question of storage, though, gets down to the idea that is it contained in a yard, or is it contained in neighborhoods? Are we talking about, and does it change the skill set of the workers because you're dealing with different types of materials? What is your sort of assessment of that when you look at it?
Well, on the Tesla side, they're doing it at the homes, but I really think the utility scale side is where we probably need more focus.
Right.
We're going to accomplish more there, and the economies of scale there are going to make more sense. They're also going to be easier to integrate in with the wholesale market. As far as changing the workforce and skill sets, I think just technology in general is constantly making us change. 10, 20 years ago, our linemen didn't didn't touch computers, didn't have email addresses, and now all of them have tablets in their trucks. They get all their work electronically, and we're not shuffling paper around, and so we've made that transition, and I think just it's everywhere.
Right.
It's just more technology, more innovation everywhere.
Has it made it faster, you think, or is it how has it improved? Some people will say, oh, it'd be better to just have paper and things like that, but I mean, reality of it is that's not really the reality anymore.
No, I mean, things do happen faster because we're able to, with the technology now, customer wants a connection. We're able to do that remotely. The crews don't have to come in to get service orders to do connections. It's all routed electronically. We get the information back more quickly. When there's an outage, the accounts are automatically updated so that, the information is so useful, and the fact that we get it so quickly now helps us do a better job and be more responsive to the customers.
It's fascinating to me too, because you talk about battery power, and one of the things that's interesting is that if you look at it now, like this is the phone is the reason why. I think people are seeing the possibilities of battery power because Apple and Android and all the Samsung, all the manufacturers, like, well, how much more battery life can we get out of these little phones, and that's then people are saying, well, we need to try to scale that, obviously, because that makes the renewables practicable, especially in a major storm event where we can have storage of some capacity. There's been a run on I think probably people I've thought about it too. It's like maybe I should get a generator, and there's the temptation to do that, and then there's people who there's videos out there on YouTube how to hook it up to your house. Do you recommend that, or do you say think twice about that, or how do you deal with that? Do people call and ask that question to you guys? I don't know. Ask anyone. Do they ask like, well, I want to get a generator, but I want to hook it up to my house. How do I do that? Do they ask you guys that question?
Probably a little uptick after the winter storm, definitely.
Yeah, right. I'm sure. That's the. I've seen a lot of people, thinking that's going to have to be. And basically, it was an unfunded mandate to the city. Like, you need to have some kind of electrical backup thing that's going to be, $1 million basically to get that solved. And so, everyone's kind of facing that right now too. We're talking a little bit about the future of electricity. One of the things I'm amazed at here in Texas is that, there's power lines everywhere. Will utilities ever be undergrounded? Is that happening, or is that something that doesn't need to happen here?
That's a Mike Wittler question.
That's a Mike Wittler question.
So undergrounding electric utilities is expensive, especially converting them from overhead to underground. Mm-hmm. So in our area, I think you're going to see overhead lines for many, many years. We are trying to do aesthetic projects where we can, and so new subdivisions now, they primarily go in underground, or in the city of Kerrville, they all go in underground. Yeah. We've done some work in the downtown area. Next to the new middle school, we put an underground line in, and so here and there we're doing what we can, but it's very, very expensive. It's an overhead line might cost you $100,000 to $200,000 per mile to build, and the same underground line would be $1 to $2 million. It's probably 10 times the cost.
10 times the cost. And, and like I said, I always look at that from the standpoint that I come from California, where it's almost all of them are underground now. But there's reasons for that. One, that in an earthquake they fall over, and two, increasingly they come down in wind events, which causes fires. And so they've made this effort to get those things underground too. But the aesthetic of it too, I always think it's ironic that here we are talking about battery power, but we're still we still got wooden phone poles everywhere too, kind of holding these things up, which is one of the reasons why CTEC had so many issues. Was those wooden poles like just snapped, right? Mm-hmm. Do you replace them with metal poles now, or is that where they're headed? Is that what's the future of that?
Well, you'll see KPUB put steel poles in up and down Sidney Baker. Yeah. That was really driven, I think, by aesthetics. It was done before I started here. being wrapped up as I came here. And when I've looked at it, the wood poles financially make more sense, even though the steel poles last at least twice as long.
Right.
There's just more expense in installing them. So wood pole is pretty much the standard, for overhead lines. And then when you get to a rural utility like CTEC, underground is not practical.
Yeah.
Underground is more practical in more urban areas. But
that's really
still,
density areas. Yeah, right. We're talking about KPUB and all the exciting things they're doing. It's Public Power Week, and tomorrow, if you're gonna have a chance, I'm going to go. I'm going to go check it out. I want to see the lifts.
Are you going to ride the bucket truck?
I want to. I don't like them, but I've told you that before. They make me nervous. But I figured after this week with Facebook and everything, I have nothing left to lose. I'm well insured. Everything's good. It's okay. My wife might want to control the things. She might want to come down and say, hey, can I raise that and lower that? And you know what? You don't need to go with the worker. You don't need to go with him. I'm just going to take care of it for him. I want to ask just a transition moment for a second here. Allison Boucher, when on a scale of 1 to 10, 10 being most, how would you rate Gary Prio's jump into the air when you gave him the check?
A total 10. He jumped super high.
Right. He jumped. It was incredible. He did it twice on demand.
He did.
He did it once, and then we made it. It was almost like when they did the flag raising at Iwo Jima. You know if you know that story. The first flag was a little dinky flag, and they're like, no, that doesn't work. Get a better flag. And that's the iconic picture was actually set up. That was a Gary Prio. We actually had to set that photo up because he's like cat-like to give him that money. But how satisfying was it to hand that check to him? You had a big smile on your face.
Oh, it was great. I mean, it was a rough year with COVID and everything that happened, and to be able to give a donation check like that to such a great charity. And
it was the biggest donation that you had made in the history of the charity ball.
Yes.
As Crystal Ramsey said, the community showed up, and Mike Wittler was there. He was not wearing a suit. He looked like he'd been at the ranch all day, but he looked sharp though. He looked like a utility baron. That's what he looked like. But I mean, looking back at that day, do you go, it worked out really well, or are you like, thank God it's over? I mean, with the charity ball.
That week was tiring too, but looking back now, all I am is proud and just thankful that it turned out so well.
Yeah.
I honestly think it went great for as many setbacks as we had with COVID.
Well, yeah, I mean, you kept trying, and then you were like, is this going to happen? And then actually you did it during another surge in the pandemic, but it worked out pretty well. And I think that it was a beautifully done event too, which is weird. Like it's like that's the Hill Country Youth Event Center, and it looked like Rio. And what's next for the charity ball? What's the next big thing for them?
So they've already picked the recipient for next year. Mm-hmm. The president is Cindy Hernandez, and the charity will be Arcadia Theater.
All right.
And the theme will be a Roaring 20s event.
Oh, very nice.
Yeah,
very
it'll
nice.
be really cool.
And we'll be back at the Youth Event Center?
Yes, absolutely.
Only place you can really have something of that size. One of the things that's interesting is that now with Public Power Week, does that mean that we're going to see, will Amy Dozier have a whiteboard, and will she be doing personal finance? Because I think, I've told you guys this before, I don't know, Mike, if you heard this story, but I've sat through a lot of public meetings in my life. My life has basically been shortened by the amount of public meetings that I go to. Now, since I'm back, I go to P&Z. I try to listen to your guys' meetings every once in a while. I'm not going to go to them. I'm sorry. School board meetings, the commissioner's court, I'll try to watch on TV. I haven't gone to an Ingram Council meeting yet, but there's just so much stuff to go on there. But Amy Dozier, I said, was the finest financial person I've ever heard from a communication standpoint, the way she explained things, the way her presentation's made. And somehow, some way, she ended up working at KPUB. So I think that you should lend her out to the community to give these finance lessons. Can we arrange for that? Is there anything we can do here? I mean, she's really great, right?
No, she's fantastic, but I'm afraid we can't do that.
Okay.
She's very busy dealing with our finances, so that's going to be the priority for now.
What's her learning curve been like on that? I mean, from going from the city to KPUB, is it different or is it similar?
There are a lot of similarities in the government accounting, but the utility industry is a whole new animal for her. But she, as you would expect, she's really dug in and done an amazing job.
What's your biggest leadership management, kind of mantra or ethic? What do you stand by when it comes to leadership and management?
I think more than anything, I try to treat people fairly and give people second chances. But being fair is really, really, really big to me. So. Yeah. And that's in how we deal with our customers and also how we deal, employees first and our customers as well.
When you look at the role you play in the community, how important is that to you? People, people say, "Oh, well, you're just a CEO," but you play a really vital role in that. I mean, what is your assessment of, where you belong in the community? Are you accessible? Are you comfortable in that role? What do you think?
Well, I think our organization is very important. Overall, my role is fairly small, but being accessible to customers is important, and I do make myself available. I'll go out and talk to a customer in the lobby if I need to, or go meet a customer and do that on a fairly regular basis.
Right. Yeah, this is I always find it interesting too, like the management lessons and the leadership lessons of people who run large organizations, and what is the biggest management challenge? Is it people? Is it hiring? What do you think is the biggest challenge you face?
I think so KPUB is a great place to work, and the people, the people are KPUB, and the people are what's so important. And so there's just a lot of focus there on getting the right people, supporting your people, training your people, having a good work environment, so it's all about the people and the environment you create for them.
All right, I have a question that I've missed here. This is said, is KPUB finalized arrangements to control its customer meters via 24/7 dispatch or another plan such as co-opting with another utility company? Is that something you guys are doing? I'm not familiar with that question. So,
can you repeat?
Yeah, it says, has KPUB finalized arrangements for KPUB to control its customer meters via a 24/7 dispatch center or another plan such as co-opting with another utility company? Also, does KPUB now have a disaster recovery program in place? Thank you.
So that on one of the big issues is how how the rolling outages work, and we're part of LCRA's program to manage those outages. We've investigated using the meters, the disconnect on the meters to interrupt smaller groups and make the outages more smoothly, and that doesn't look promising. We are also working with LCRA to pilot a program where they would interrupt smaller groups of customers than they currently do. So right now, that's the most promising thing. There's a reference to standing up a 24/7, 365 dispatch, and if we did that, then we could control the rolling outages and have our own program.
But it's a significant cost, right?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. So you're talking about where dispatch now is 2 full-time people. We'd need to take that up to at least 5, possibly 6. And, all those costs, you're talking about another $500,000 a year, for events that don't happen very often and that are honestly LCRA managed. I mean, yeah, there are pains here the way it's done, but all in all, when you look at the job LCRA did with the rolling outages, they did a good job, and they did much better than some places who had customers who weren't able to roll customers, so they just had customers out for days.
Yeah, and that's what, like, a lot of these smaller utilities who were like maybe like the situation I saw in Greenville where, out here they have their own power plant. Well, they didn't have gas, so they're out.
Greenville also can run their plants on diesel fuel.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
and they got trucks out of Mississippi to fuel their plant. So they had one plant. The truck rolled up and they had like 30 minutes of fuel left. So like everyone else, they were scrambling to keep things.
Yeah.
I think every utility has those stories about the employees going above and beyond.
It was just incredible, though. I mean, like you talked about everybody that's out there, and the other realization that you had. Not only do you have this sort of issue too, that you got standing up a 24/7 thing. That's complicated. One of the things that Greenville realized too was that their utilities owned by the city, like this one is, they had no way to communicate between the police, fire, public utilities, and they were all sort of dealing with similar problems. And so they they said, we need to upgrade our communications. Well, that's $10 million, in upgrades to get the right equipment in there to make sure that everyone was on the same page. So that's a huge issue for so many. The realization, like, we're not quite prepared for this. This is, like you said, though, it's not going to happen all the time. But the reality is it did happen, and how do we prepare for this as well? Yeah,
and it could happen again. So,
all right, here's the really big question for you, Mike. This is going to make you fall out of your chair. Okay, are you ready for this, Allison? You ready for this one too?
I'm ready.
Does 5G move through power lines? Now, if you don't know the context of the story, by the way, there was a person who went to the Kerr County Commissioners Court meeting, and I swear to you that I believe that Rob Kelly, our esteemed county judge, was getting ready to jump out of his chair and knock this person out. But he didn't do it. I'm making that part up. But she claimed that LCRA's new power lines were moving 5G into Kerr County against her will. Do you have to deal with those kind of conspiracy theories? How do you address those issues with people who might have those questions?
We just try our best to explain how things work as far as we know. I really can't speak to 5G and power lines, although I doubt that power lines would be an acceptable transmission medium for 5G.
We had Justin McClure on the other day, who is one of the owners of Jam Radio, and he said, he goes, yeah, I don't think that's the way it works, folks. And I said, yeah, it's your fault for 5G. KPUB just provides you the power. He says, yeah, you see my power bill from those guys. So it's amazing, though, that there are these people out there that believe that these things are happening, So it's interesting. All right. Again, reset one more time, because we got people watching from all over the country here. There's this suspicious person named Samantha Bennett who I work with closely, who's watching today from New Jersey. Bella Shearhart saying, you killed it. What did you kill exactly?
I have no idea.
Let me
Hi,
find.
Bella.
What did you kill exactly? What was that all about?
She's probably talking charity ball.
Charity ball.
Yeah.
Did you have a good time with the charity ball, Mike? Was it fun for you?
Oh, yeah. We had a great time.
Yeah, all right. Where did you go to college at, Mike?
I have a bachelor's degree in electrical engineering from A&M. I tried several other colleges and universities before winding up there, and then I also have an MBA from Schreiner.
Do you guys ever have math contests at KPUB? Is there like a secret room where you guys all do like math games, like a Sudoku room or anything like that? I mean, because engineers, like, that's all you guys do is sit around and do math problems, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, all right.
I would not be partaking in that.
I lived with a bunch of engineering students when I was living in San Luis Obispo, California, and they were all, two of them electrical engineering guys. There was a bunch of mechanical and civil guys, and they would sit around with their big. Remember those big calculators? They were like what are those big Tandy calculators that would cost like $500 back in the day? Yeah. The graphing calculators.
HP 48GX.
You see, he knows it.
I have one on my desk.
He's got it right.
Yeah.
Doesn't the phone do it now though? Doesn't Doesn't the iPhone have a graph? If you turn it this way, it becomes like a graphing one too.
Yeah, I would imagine so.
The calculators are amazing. That's probably a big difference too now. It's like the computer technology when you're going to school. So is A&M going to get off the snide here and win some football games? What's going to happen?
I don't know, and I can't comment there.
All right. I keep asking all these A&M fans. Kevin Bernhardt was on yesterday, and we asked him, with Jimbo Fisher, good hire, bad hire, what's going on there? So I heard a story, though, that if you want to really experience Texas, you don't go to a Texas football game. You go to an A&M football game. Is that true? Is that the deal? That the A&M football experience is really a bucket list type item?
Absolutely.
Okay. All right. What do you think? Have you been to an A&M football game?
I have not. My husband's a big UT fan.
Oh my. Yeah. So we're all in divided camps here as well.
He just put together tomorrow when he's helping barbecue. That he's missing a big game tomorrow too, so he's pretty sad.
Yeah. Who do they play tomorrow? I wonder. I don't know who they're playing. Oh no, it's the Red River Shootout tomorrow. Yeah. Duh. OU and Texas tomorrow up at the Cotton Bowl. That would be one I'd like to go see that one as well. Okay. Last thoughts on what are we going to see tomorrow? Again, what time? 10 to what? 10 to 2? 10 to 3?
10 to 1 p.m.
10 to 1 p.m.
And it's in Louise Hayes Park this time. Last time it was at KPUB, but this time it's at
Louise Hayes Park. Is it going to be what side of the bridge is it going to be?
It's if you're driving through the park, it's that upper pavilion area.
Okay, right. Okay, so it's going to be up there.
Yep.
And you can get a little ride in the bucket truck.
Yeah.
And
we'll have directional signage too, pointing people which way.
Okay. I think it's going to be cool. I'm looking forward to this because if there's a way to make public utilities cool, it's KPUB can lead the way here as well. Because there's such an interesting thing in it as well. There's a lot of. I mean, I'm sure kids are. No, wait a minute. Are you gonna have like one of those demonstrations where you can play with the power, play with electricity?
No, they'll have the Ark and Spark demo though.
Okay, that'll be there, right?
Yeah,
okay.
That'll be there.
No, like this is what could happen to you. Oh, look at this guy, former Mayor Joe Herring, walking by right now. So good to have him here. Okay, you guys, thank you so much for being here.
Yeah, thank you for having us.
I appreciate it as well. I love having Mike onto the show because one. He's fascinating to talk to. Two, he doesn't like this at all. He hates it, but he comes on and he's a good sport. He puts up with me, which I love. And the beauty of the whole thing is that we learn a lot. And
he's a wealth of knowledge.
He is a wealth of knowledge. And I said, what's weird about this is that Mike is uncomfortable speaking in this forum. But when you put him in a public meeting, like he's money, he's gold. Mm-hmm. Not that this wasn't great. I mean, but there is. It's interesting though. There's differences in how, you communicate with each other. And I think the meeting that I listened to, I'll never forget this one too. And I've said this before was there was a KPUB meeting, and Mike was kind of laying out the scenarios that were there. It was fascinating. It was like. Wow, there's so much to deal with, I mean, so many things to do. How many times have you been woken up in the middle of the night with problems? Where they say, "Hey, boss, we've got elephant took down a tree, or an axis deer launched itself into a transformer and is dead, knocked out power." Like the squirrel thing that happened over here. Was it about a year ago where the squirrel knocked out power to Main Street for like hours?
Yeah, I remember that.
Yeah. Do you get those calls like late at night, or do you just like, don't let me know? How do you deal with that?
Well, the phone's always on, but again, our employees are amazing, and I rarely get called. They're just so good at their job and what they do.
Right.
It's the only time I'm really up at night is when we have a big storm, and it's I'm out there trying. I guess to help where I can and mostly stay out of the way,
right.
But kind of help assess.
But that's an assessment of going back to management, though. Like if you don't have to be called in the middle of the night, then you've done your job to prepare those people, or you have the right people in place. When you recruit people, like what do you recruit for? What do you look for? I'm writing this down carefully. So.
Geez, I don't know.
Mike's like this. I thought this interview was over. Why does he keep asking questions?
Yeah. Next time you're going to have to give us a list of topics.
Yeah, right.
This is just ridiculous. for many of our employees, we like hiring local people just because of their connections to the community and their roots here.
Right.
And that's really, that's really what's worked out best for us.
I mean, you hired Allison Boucher for the following reasons, right? I mean, one, she's hyper competent. But two, she's got cool dogs, and her husband cooks. I mean, what more can you ask for?
Yeah, all of those. You got it. Right. You got it.
All right. Well, okay. We're putting Mike out of his misery here now. We're gonna get him out of here.
All right.
Thank you, Mike, for being here and being a good sport. We appreciate it very much. A couple things to keep in mind. Go visit this thing. I'm looking forward to tomorrow. We'll have full coverage in tomorrow's editions of The Lead. Please consider subscribing to us. We are a great bargain. $5.99 a month. KPUB is actually coming in as a sponsor of the show, actually. So we're working on that right now. And $54.99 for the full year of coverage. And we've got a lot planned in the coming year or so. Some exciting things here. Next week, now it's a short week for us. So I'm actually going on vacation. I can't believe I'm saying that. And this is interesting, too. Now that I'm working on my own, like if I was working in an office, like, oh, thank God, vacation's coming. But now that I'm on my own, it feels kind of weird. Like I don't know how to prepare for a vacation. But we're going to Boston next week, so I'll be gone for a week. But no shows next week, next Wednesday through the following Tuesday. But on Monday, I've got a woman coming into the show. Dang it, I'm blanking on her name all of a sudden. But she's going to come on and talk about art program over that she does for women on an art camp. And we're going to talk to her on Monday. Tuesday, we have a full house. Kelly Early will come in with the Republican Women, talk about one of their events. And then we'll also get an advance of the Kerrville Chalk Festival with Kristen Lusher will be here. I mean, there's like we're going to have like 5 or 6 guests on Tuesday. We get back on the 20th Wednesday, and Brittany Lehman's going to come back in. You know Brittany, right? Mm-hmm. So, and she may bring Callie with her.
Aww.
So I'm looking forward to that. It is October is National Down Syndrome Awareness Month. And so we had a really extensive conversation about the Special Opportunity Center on Wednesday. But Brittany will come back on Wednesday, talk about that. We'll bring some other folks with her, and we'll talk about what it's like to, raise a child that has Down syndrome, some of the challenges here in the community that they need help with. And so that's going to be on Wednesday. We've just got guests lined up all through the next couple of weeks. And then Delane Sigerman will be back here. We're going to do a show from Delane's house, by the way. Did I tell you this? Delane's going to do a house show where she's going to cook food for everybody.
Oh, awesome.
You want to be invited to that?
Yeah.
Okay. All right. So there you go. How are the dogs doing?
They're good. We'll try to bring Lincoln tomorrow.
Lincoln needs to be. What about the Chupacabra? Or is he just grouchy?
He's pretty old and grouchy now.
He doesn't like to be out and be bothered by people?
No, he hit 15 and he's pretty.
Does Lincoln ever have a bad reaction to those when he doesn't have a puppuccino? Does he get one of those like pouty things? Have you seen those videos where the dogs throw fits?
Here, I'll find one in my archives from whenever Starbucks actually shut down during the pandemic.
Oh my gosh!
We drove up and my dog gets puppuccinos and looks forward to it, and the drive-through window said they were closed, and we stood there for a second, or just in my car, sat there, and he literally barked and like howled.
Oh my gosh!
Yes,
they're junkies.
In disappointment.
Isn't that funny how dogs are junkies?
Yes,
they're just so funny. All right, everybody. You're also involved in Cape and Kerrville Pets Alive. So hello to Karen Guerrero and all the crew that's there. We thank you guys for joining us here. Again, this is The Lead Live. I'm Louis Samostoy. We'll see you guys again on Monday. Have a good day.
Thanks, Louis.
It's kill or be killed.